Hey Ted,
Hey John, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. It's Friday.
It is Friday, and we're here to talk about one of your favorite topics: retail
Sneakers.
relevancy.
Oh,
But
retail sneakers is not the thing.
but I think retail sneakers is kind of we could just change that and
Well,
change our.
sneakers is my favorite category.
Yeah,
So
I know exactly. So why don't we jump in with where we're going with this conversation? Because you have been filling my inbox with articles about Nike and Amazon and
yep.
direct to consumer. And why don't you kick us off here?
Well, Nike, of course, this week everybody saw Nike's leaving Amazon. A couple years ago, they set up a store on Amazon, and I think they were exploring
Learning.
different channels. What? Not a surprise, right? If I'm Nike, I want a direct relationship with my shoppers, period. Right.
Right.
I've bought my last two pairs of Nikes off of Instagram. Right. So Nike does a masterful job of knowing me as a shopper, targeting me with a perfect Instagram ad on stuff that it knows that I dig. So when they have new colorways on the 270s, which is a shoe that I love, and have like four pairs, and Shannon asked me why a lot. I said, well, they're different colors. I mean, you get it, right? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, okay. So I just make sure.
Why do I have five pairs of Allbirds?
Because you like them, right? Yeah, it totally baffles her. She's like, those are the same shoes. I'm like, they're not. These are orange and white.
Yeah.
Those are blue and white. And they have blue eyelets.
Yeah.
Anyway, but literally transacted both of those purchases within Instagram. But think about that. Nike gets 100% of that data. It knows everything there is to know about me as a customer. And it knows my purchase habits, what I like, and my frequencies. And now that you can do that, why wouldn't you?
Well, it goes to what you've been talking about for a long time, that first party data is really the only true valuable data.
Third-party data is crap,
And,
I think, in
right.
my humble
So
opinion.
first party data is where it's at. And here you have a company like Nike that has really been working hard for well before our time here
Sure.
to build a relationship directly with the consumer. And, it's not just Nike. They're going to slowly start pulling their product from other retailers because number one, it's not a direct relationship. Number two, it gives them less control. Number three, it gives them less of an ability to build that relationship. And, you've been hitting me with all this stuff. So of course I always try to do a little bit of my own research, even though I can always rely on you. Big time. But I found an interview with Heidi O'Neill, who's the president of direct to consumer at Nike. And I love what she says is that what they're looking to do is to foster and continue to build an unbreakable relationship with the consumer.
Love that.
I mean, and that's exactly where it's at because we talk about all the time. Where do you get this loyalty?
Yeah.
And how do you build it if you're not directly communicating with customers?
Yep.
And I think, and I'd love to hear your thought on this because I think Nike is the perfect case study for this. And as you just said when we started, like this is probably just the beginning of this for a lot of brands.
Well, there was a corollary that I shared with you, and which is how Nike's thinking about the way it builds community and the way it builds relationships with its shoppers is all based around what it's been doing with sneakerheads, right? And when you think about that, it totally makes sense because sneakerheads eat, breathe, sleep sneakers, right? So they are creating content incessantly, right? They've created a $2 billion secondary market, which I believe drives the primary market. Because I think it creates relevancy, right? And I think so. They look at that and say, okay, these are the people that are driving the conversation. They're the influencers. They're the community. They're the people. We're going to, if we can figure out what makes them tick, we can then use that in our regular consumer relationships. And I think they do a good job of it.
And think about where that goes. Like, right, again, when we were starting, you mentioned something about, well, how do you do that with Pop-Tarts? Well, you find a community, maybe it's mom bloggers, maybe it's moms in general, maybe it's some other group that are passionate about that. It might not be about the particular product, but it can be about breakfast in general, health and nutrition. I mean, it goes back to what we did at Collective Bias when we were building not just communities, but we were trying to build sub-communities of people that really discussed and added insight and perspective to a market for a brand. And
So,
now
so
brands have a great opportunity because of all the tools available to them to do that with their commerce, not just in a conversational community.
yeah, that's a good point. Somebody was asking me about that strategy the other day, and I think there was a subtle thing that we did that a lot of people didn't notice or didn't realize is we had a master community of people. We never went and selected influencers to be part of programs.
Right. They select.
We presented the programs to them, and remember what we call them? We call them hand raisers, and they decided if the program was right for them or not. Right.
And then what was fabulous is all the people that jumped in around that who might not have been a part of that.
Yeah.
Like they weren't hired for the gig, they weren't a part of the direct community, but they became a part of a community within our ecosphere.
Sure.
You know, and lent a lot of knowledge there for the brands. And I think that's where brands are going to be headed. And I think Nike, again, is going to be really leading the way. And a lot of people are going to be watching really closely what they're doing here.
Well, and I think it's pretty fortunate too, because they made this investment already in their app infrastructure. So they've, Nike Run Plus community. I don't even know what all the things they have today, but they have all of these other communities, plus the things that they've done already. And they're a retailer. I didn't, I saw a stat. I really haven't been able to confirm this, but I saw this on CBC the other day. Nike is already 30% direct, So yeah, I know. So think about that. It's already, they have the outlet stores, they've got the direct stores. So that's a lot of it, but they know how to do business with people to connect with them directly. Already.
Right. And look, it goes to what we're seeing from a lot of the direct to consumer startups who started as e-commerce brands are now extending into whether it's events or it's store base where they can get a direct relationship with the consumer. Like one of the things I love about Warby Parker, and I say this all the time, I do not believe they have the best product, but they have such a great process.
Right.
That I'm willing to give up a little bit on the product to have the process where they have stores, where they have online, where I can bring one to the other, where there is they are omnipresent. They are not omni-channel because there are no silos between their thing. Right. And I think that Nike's going in this direction. And like I said, I think we're going to see a lot more. I'm excited about it. We can talk about it again in the future. Tell me how you want to close here, buddy. I know you got some big thinking.
I think that's it. I think it's going to be an interesting dance with brands and people like Amazon in the next few years about, you're going to have to decide, do I stay on Amazon and do I give Amazon my data? Right. Because that's the trade-off you're making. Right. Or do I go it alone and give up Amazon's audience? And I don't think there's going to be one answer that fits anyone correctly.
Right.
But it's coming, and these are the decisions people got to think about.
Right. And there's a great comment you made in an earlier conversation we had, or it might have been a text or an email. People are still going to be able to buy Nike on Amazon. They're just going to be buying it from secondary sellers, from resellers, from other places. So there's still that. And also remember that Nike, any in the relationship with Amazon today does not mean they will not pick it up again at another time, potentially in another format. John, it's always enlightening speaking to you, buddy. Have a great weekend, and I miss you, man. We gotta get some FaceTime.
Thanks, brother. I know you got a big trip coming up, so safe travels.
Yep. Off to Copenhagen and Prague. I'll see you after that.
Okay. Have a good one.